podcasts over at wildgamesproductions.com and d20radio.com.
They came from the game table, dice bags in hand,
We have one brain that we share between us.
to talk about role-playing for all across the land.
And you'll like it.
The original, then basic, then 1E they scoured,
Kinda grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
to bring AD&D to the second power.
You want me to put the hammer down?
Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn AD&D 2nd edition podcast ever.
Yeah, he's been after me every so often, like, hey, you guys recorded an episode yet? I'm like, no, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the feeling, but we're back anyway. Hiya, folks. It is DM Glenn at THACO's Hammer once again, the man of many aliases, and we're Splat Book 178. That's not what the book says. Damn right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we also got DM. Flip a coin. Full on gamer. Say hi.
Greetings, Gamer Nation. We're coming to you live from the frozen Midwest.
In a
Out on the
repair
road
bay.
again. And batteries freeze. It happens.
Yeah, well.
Environmental hazards are a thing, and you should use them like it says to in the Wilderness Adventure Guide.
You're right. Well, that is DM Full On Gamer, our man on the street or out in the.
Our highwayman.
Yeah, our highwayman. Who was that guy who used to be on CBS? On the Road with
Charles
Full On
Kuralt.
Gamer. There we go.
Yeah, Charles
Yeah,
Kuralt.
he's our Charles Kuralt. Now that's DM Brian over there.
Hey, folks, what's going on out there?
Yeah, and we do not have a Corey today. Big surprise.
I deny all accusations of necromancy or mummy rot.
You can practice.
We'll
You can practice it all you want. Just don't do it on your friends. You run out of friends that way.
No, you don't. They're still around.
Anyway, let's go to hits and crits.
Well,
one thought he was invincible, the other thought he could fly.
so
They were both wrong.
Son of a bitch is dug in like an Alabama tick.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
We're sending somebody in to negotiate!
Anybody else want to negotiate?
Hits and crits. All right, guys, the floor is yours. So the floor is mine. So go ahead.
Okay, I'll start off. Let's see. Let's see. The last 2 months, I've been suffering from a massive case of insomnia, and I don't know how it was going. Well, yeah, I know. It's like almost as soon as I turned 54, it started that way. But yeah, so I've been dealing with that, and then right from that, I go right into my third case of COVID. So yeah, I just got over that last week, and now I'm just kind of trying to get back to some semblance of normalcy. Some semblance. I mean, the last 2 nights I've actually slept more than 6 hours a night, so I'm very pleased about that. Now I just have to.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. 6 hours is a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
the hazards and the woe of 6 hours of continuous sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking.
Yeah. So yeah, and now I have to find time and energy to record the episode of my own podcast, Confessions of an Arcade Addict. We are at episode 58. The last one I did was Street Fighter 2, and we're gonna be moving on from there. So we'll see what happens.
Well, hey, mine. I mean, I didn't think I'd do an episode today. I'm in the 1500 area. 1500.
Yeah.
60, something like that.
Yeah.
Every morning I go, I want to skip it, and then by the late afternoon, it's like, all right.
Yeah, you just gotta do it. Because, yeah.
Well, but it helps if you have something to talk about.
Well, yeah, then there's that. Yeah,
That's why.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what you said. Anyway, full on, what's up?
Well, I'm just back out on the road again. I'm up in the New England and tri-state and beyond area again. So I'm currently parked down the street from Corey's house at the Flying J near where he lives, and can't get him to come out to get food.
Well,
like enticing a bear in the winter,
Really?
But it is what it is.
He didn't come out to see you?
Well, not this time. I don't know.
Well, let's be fair.
But we got him out last time. We sent pictures. Proof of life was given.
You did. Yes.
Yes, you did.
But yeah, why am I the one on the road living in a truck watching more anime than the two of you guys? I'm hammering my way through 3 different complete series over the last week.
You're dedicated for
new stuff I haven't even bothered sending you.
I saw the picture of you in the truck, and all I could think of is, gee, it's great that Grizzly Adams has a trade now.
What, trapper, hunter? He was a tradesman.
Yep.
Grizzly Adams,
long haul trucker. Yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't Grizzly Adams. It was Jeremiah Johnson.
There you go. Okay.
Jeremiah Johnson. Anyway,
what's going on? Keeping up on that and working my way through the various other podcasts and stuff that I opine upon and comment towards, and then waiting to just work out another thing with you guys. So it is what it is, and reading, watching, and adjusting my brain further.
So what have you been up to, Glenn?
Well, oh boy. I started my Christmas viewing a few weeks ago. I started with Christmas Carol, of course, the Alistair Sim one, because I got a Blu-ray of it. I also hold out my Blu-ray of It's a Wonderful Life, which I have not seen in 30 years.
Really?
And you know what? Colorization ain't bad on that one.
Okay.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I just kept skipping it. And then I followed that with Christmas with the Joker. For Batman the Animated Series. I always watch that one every year. Yeah, it's like the second episode of the series. And I love watching it. Just watching Mark Hamill sing Jingle Bells, Batman Smells.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and let's see what else. Oh, we had our Monday game. We are having our last game of the year tomorrow night, which I have to run, which is going to be Rats on the Walls from Hyperborea in Hyperborea. The Monday game, my character died and was raised. And I had LoJack died and was raised, and now I'm trying to play a character thing where he gets a little more cautious.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying not to make it like somebody's gonna have to shake me up and says, "You're fine. Go out there and fight."
I mean, it happens. It's a thing, and not even before you get halfway through your Constitution score. It sometimes is. Death is a significant and suitable learning experience. 5th edition. I'm talking to you.
Yes, that's the
one
first time
D&D. I'm talking to you, and all of your snowflake puppet friggin' sheeple who don't understand risk versus reward. Oh, am I ranting? No, sorry.
Well, full on. You know what happened, but go ahead. Yeah, you know.
Anyway, my character. That's the first time LoJack died, and he didn't expect to come back, and they brought him back, and it was like a really high con save or something like that. But they managed to bring me and another character back, and I'm sort of playing like he has a bit of PTSD now over it, and because we had like a 2-session shopping trip, and everybody went out to get stuff, and they go, "LoJack, what are you doing?" "I'm in the bar drinking." And they go on and go, "LoJack, what are you doing?" "I'm in the bar still drinking." And that's pretty much, he spent both both sessions drinking in the tavern.
Okay.
We had a new character show up for the game, and she said, "I'll stay in the bar with him, just in case."
Mm-hmm.
I was considering retiring him. I was considering sending him back and having like another character from the Lumpers come over to, finish whatever they were doing. But I decided, well, I'm going to stick it out for a little while more. Otherwise, he would have missed the whole big airship fight over Sharn, where we were getting attacked by halflings with pterodactyls and warforged on griffins.
Sounds fun.
We did pretty good. See, he died because he did one of the things he's never done before in a battle. Rambo it out. I mean, we saw the guys. Okay, what do we do? Let me handle this. I pulled out my blunderbuss and I went, "Hey guys, boom!" And I never recovered. I went in there and I started fighting, and they just had me. They had me every which way but loose. And my parrot of healing did not help because they knocked me down so much. They knocked me past the three saves. And I said, okay, he's dead. So they got to get my body out. The battle went okay. They won. I mean, there's now a big crater in Sharn where our group put where the building stood. There's a crater there now. So, yeah, and it's like, he says, well, what do you want to do? I says, are there force ghosts in this world? He said, why? I want a force ghost of me taking my force ghost parry to go, piece of shit, and throwing it. But no, he raised me.
Right.
Yeah, and
it happens, and it's a way to go out, and sounds epic. That's the way things do.
Well, this is the first time I ever had what I call legacy character be in that position. Usually it's somebody I make up at the table, but LoJack is near and dear to my heart because I've got like a novel I wrote about him. I got comic strips I wrote about him. And they said, who is he? I said, he's me in fantasy as Philip Marlowe. And so I didn't really want him to die. That's the first character I really didn't want to die. Otherwise, it's like, okay, give me a character sheet, I'll do another one. But that one stung a bit. And also, I talked to Carla. We had a little discussion about resurrection. Okay. Now, we had to make a really high con roll, and we were resurrected. And he says, next time the roll is going to be even higher. And I said, yeah, all right, fine. And he says, you're down one con. I said, we're still doing that?
Yeah.
Apparently.
5e has carried that over. I hated that.
Yep.
But, I understand it more in like 1 and 2e than I do 5e. Because the way 5e is, you're getting like every third or fourth level, you're getting a few points to put in your stats. And I said, it's pointless to knock me down a con. Just raise the roll, because you knock me down a con, I get up again. I get knocked down a con. What happens when I get some more points for stats next time? I'll just bump it back up.
Oh, you mean the industry has recognized the thing that gamers have always known about Monty Hauling when you say, I gave him too much stuff, now I have to find ways to take it away, is still a thing. It applies to stats, too. If you're going to have, I have no reason not to give you a stat bonus forever instead of, I wanted to go train for it, I wanted to go find these friggin' books, I wanted to go find these wish-giving relics that could grant ability points, when it was difficult to do so. Now it's just, I just hang around long enough, I'm going to get stat points anyway.
Right.
I'm going to get stat points anyway. It's 5e. I can die? How does that happen? I'm not supposed to die. Every class of every stripe is a healer and has the ability to make people not die in the field in combat on the spot. So that if something has gone incredibly right or incredibly wrong for a person to be at death's door anyway. I mean, really.
I don't believe.
Props on you for challenging the system.
I know now in 5th edition, Anybody says it's impossible to die, it's BS. Because not only have my character died once, I've had other characters who've gone down so far they didn't get any resurrection saves or any death saves. So yeah, you can die in fifth.
That's the MMO thing bleeding over, where you can turn around and point at the healers and say, "Why aren't you supporting the tank, man? You're not supposed to go low enough that you're at risk." That's their mindset of the system.
Right.
That's why they have all those recovery options and replacement options and stand you back up options.
See, Lojak's the leader of the group, but he is more of a sniper. I mean, they never said to me, "Oh, you're being cowardly" or something like that. They never said that because I offer legitimate support for the group. I am just like taking advantage of partial cover because my AC is 18 when everybody's running around at AC 28.
And what are you doing in the middle of the melee anyway? You're supposed to be on the outside shooting in.
I was. I mean, I got my blunderbuss, I got my 2 flintlocks, I got a crossbow. I'm loaded for ranged. So there's that. I mean, I shot a damn halfling right out of the sky with my blunderbuss through a porthole.
That's funny. Shot it right out of the sky. This is where
the other players' heads are.
Did you not yet invent Bigby's reloading hands?
Not yet. But here's where the other players' heads were. They said to me, I told them about why don't you just knock off a con point because I'm going to get it back anyway. And they're saying like, well, yeah, that's one less point you can put anywhere else. And I said, I don't care. I'm a fighter. You guys are the big build monsters. I get a few fancy moves too, but I'm not gonna sit there and try and modify and get the most bang for my buck out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the thing. I don't do that anymore. I never did. Optimize and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought, and before this I played a barbarian who also didn't need all those bells and whistles, and I did fine. I got up to level 20, and I'm proud of it. Anyway, enough of my rant. But they, we had a lot of fun. So tomorrow night I get to run the last one. The guys did okay. It just worked out. It just worked, but. Needless to say, my character's still up and running, so I'm happy with that. Lesson. It was. I was trying to have Lojak take it like a life lesson. I mean, he's been with the Lumpers for like 10 years or so. He's one of the founding members, and he never died before.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a blow to his confidence, let's say.
Yeah, PTSD basically.
Yeah.
A mild case of PTSD.
Mild. He's just sitting in the bar for days, just drinking his. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why I had somebody watching over me.
Right.
But anyway, let's get some emails.
Okay, we can do that. We can definitely do that. All right. We have a new emailer to the show, I believe.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh no, Mr. Bill. Close. Anyway, this is DJ. DJ. Jeez, I am so out of practice. Wow. DM RoboRob.
DJ Brian.
Yeah, that's me. Okay. He says, big fan, guys. I've been wanting to write for a very long time, but felt I needed to listen to every episode first. Finally accomplished that, so here goes.
You ought to talk to Full On, who has to watch every anime first.
Well, yeah, but all my stuff is still shrink wrapped in boxes over in the corner there. Anyway, to continue.
Insomnia is a great reason to watch stuff.
Yeah, no, not really, because I can't focus on anything.
Yeah, but then I get Becky from the other side of the house going, "Will you turn that down? I'm trying to sleep."
Mm-hmm. Okay, he says, quick intro. I was introduced to AD&D in 88 or 89. I was 10 years old when I lived in a children's home in Waxahachie, Texas. A kid gave me his 1E DM's guide and his dice. I had zero clue that there was a player's handbook for the longest time, so to say I was lost would be an understatement. Yes. For a 10-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid.
I think we have our first orphan gamer.
That's where you start off. That's where you just start off as a DM because you've got the DM book.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, I mean, I remember, when I first got my DM guide, it was 1981, so that makes me 12? Yeah, so yeah, I get where he's coming from. Oh no, it was 82. I was 13, but still. Let's see. I remember the book felt like a wizard's tome that I had to somehow decipher. Yes, that's exactly what you have to do. Some kids at school filled me in. It was a public, not home school, and we started playing. The children's home was of the religious sort and would not have allowed me to play openly. When I left a few years later, I was able to play on a regular basis and would have those marathon sessions every Saturday. We would start around 8 a.m. and play to 8 to 10 p.m. Yeah, I remember those days. Let's see. Anyway, just
crash overnight at the house and start up again in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's how you spend your weekends. Yeah. Let's see. Anyway, I just wanted to share a Mordenkainen's disjunction story. This incident took place at the end of the Dragon Mountain campaign. I was playing a 17th level dwarven priest of war named Thorin Hammerhead. We were up against the final boss. Yeah, I know, that's a good one, isn't it? We're up against final boss, a great worm red dragon. We spent hours planning every aspect of the upcoming battle. It was decided that Thorin would distract the dragon and absorb as many attacks as he could, while the rest hit her from behind. All sorts of protection magic and items were given to me for protection. The battle finally starts. Thorin boldly confronts the red dragon, daring her to throw any attack up. That's the first mistake. No, you just go to it and you don't do that kind of stuff. Okay, first thing she does, Mordenkainen's disjunction. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold it, time out. Since when can a red dragon cast a 9th level spell? I'd like to know that. But anyway.
I thought it was the dwarf that was cast.
No, the dragon cast it. Let's see. Cast Mordenkainen's disjunction. I laughed. My saves were ridiculously good. I rolled a 2. Fail. Every magical item I had, gone. Every protective spell, gone. I was naked before the beast. The only reason I lived was because the druid was able to yank me away with only one segment to spare before the dragon unleashed her breath weapon. The battle was over 30 years ago, and I still remember it. Anyway, thanks for sticking with the podcast. I look forward to many more. DM Robo Rob.
Thank you, Robo Rob. We have our first orphan gamer.
Yep. That is true.
Huh? Sounds about right. It perfectly works fine, and dragons use scrolls and rings of spell storing too. So level of spell versus dragon is not a question that I usually bother asking. Dragons can do what dragons do because they're dragons. So I wouldn't worry about that. And yeah, sometimes that happens, and it's good that the party jumped in to save you. Good call.
Mm-hmm.
I throw Mordecai's disjunction. What's your save? Wait a minute, you can't. I didn't say that. I said, what's your save?
Yeah, exactly. Mm.
Yeah.
But I mean,
says you
that's why, number one, you never boast. You never boast because the DM can take that personally, and the DM will come up with ways to put a monkey wrench in your plans. That's why also you do your planning away from the table where the DM can't hear it. That's the other thing.
And you don't rules lawyer because DMs get mad about that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, which is the theme of this show. Let's save that. Let's save that. But yeah.
But the book says.
Yeah. The books
what are you, crazy man? We're doing what I want to do.
Yeah. That some DMs are exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. You don't quote the book to them. You'll fry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some
character will fry.
Yeah, some DMs are just that way. It's like they take it as a personal affront, and they will bend and twist the game because they have that ability and that power. They will bend and twist the game to make it come out so that whatever you're planning will not come about, or at least not come about the way that you want to.
Yeah, on the other side of the coin, rules lawyers can be extremely handy.
No, not in my experience. As a player, nope.
We can be, and we've had those little sidebar discussions among the players. Do I discuss this openly and bring it up to the DM? Because if I do, the DM is going to start using it against us in the future, even though it's to our advantage right now.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's a good idea, and sometimes it's a bad idea. Most
of the time, it's a bad idea.
Rules lawyers, you got to do like take them down to PetSmart and get them trained.
Okay, guys. Let's table this. That's our next segment. Let's table it. Because we're going into it right now. We're still doing emails.
All right, well, give us another email.
Okay then. All right. We have another emailer from our new favorite emailer, DM Felix. Okay, he says, I nearly made... Yeah, exactly. Nearly made it from Splatbook 1 to 172, and I'm loving every minute of it. Thanks again for all the time and effort you guys spent into this podcast. My favorite podcast, by the way. You're welcome. Okay, I don't know if you've seen this, but WotC stole your name. They gave it to a fat human dressed up as a pixie in the 5e module, The Light Beyond the Witchlight. I'll attach a picture of it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to...
Is that THACO the elf?
Yeah, THACO the clown. THACO the clown. Yeah, and I'm looking at a picture of it. Oh my goodness.
I saw it. I saw the brouhaha. It's like, so I'm still going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever.
You can't stop no THACO. You can't stop no THACO on me.
Yeah, exactly. So here comes my question for you guys to discuss. Since I was forced by my players to DM 5e, I didn't like it at all. I watched several videos of younger 5e players and realized that there's a big dislike of dungeon crawls going on. Especially our most beloved mega dungeons, Night Below, Temple of Elemental Evil, Undermountain, Lost City, etc. seem to be completely out of fashion. Can you imagine why? Have you experienced similar things? What do you do to make dungeon crawls more exciting? DM Felix.
Well, at least he didn't get hooked on Critical Role.
Yeah, well, yeah. I watched one episode of Critical Role. I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me.
I didn't watch. I've seen clips from it, but I haven't watched it. All I know is I got a crush on Lori.
Well, yeah, I can see why. I can certainly see why. But anyway,
sometimes I think people take the wrong lessons from Critical Role because what they put out for Vox Machina as a show, the anime anyway, was respectable, and I'm an advocate of it. But some of the things I'm hearing are coming out as, well, that's from the Critical Role camp of thought. It's like, well, that's silly. Why would you think that? And it goes both ways. But again, you don't have to take every lesson from every other gamer out there, and not everybody who runs a table runs it the quote-unquote right way. Mm-hmm. It's your way.
Yep, exactly. And that's Go ahead, Glenn.
No, I was just getting us back on topic. That's all.
Yeah, I was going along with that, but yeah. I don't know why dungeon crawls are out of fashion now. You got to remember, we're three generations removed, maybe 4, from what we used to play back in, the 80s.
I can answer it.
Go ahead. All right, Fawn, give me an answer.
I know why it's out of it. The answer is everybody has grown up on these MMOs and open world RPGs and graphics and fields and open world play and crawling across the desert and crawling through the jungle and stuff like that, which, was more difficult to deal with on a tabletop basis than it is where I can just draw, here's a grid, here's a map, here's a tunnel, here's a passageway, here's a room, etc. And dealing with environment writ large is harder than dealing with rooms. And that mentality has carried over into the product base, and it's carried over into the player base, because they're used to running around on the friggin' wilds of EverQuest, or the wilds of WoW, or the wilds of Star Wars WotC and Galaxies and all these other things where you have worlds to explore, and dungeons feel constraining even if they're big. The Night Below gives you a little bit of everything. It's not. It's one of the ones that does it better, because you have outdoor adventure, then you have Underdark adventure, and then you have a mix. But you don't constrain yourself to one or the other. But I wouldn't say that it's out of fashion entirely. Otherwise, the whole industry between Dungeon Crawl Classic wouldn't exist as a brand name.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They may think about dungeons. Dungeons are crawling is falling out of favor, and it fell out of favor with me a few years ago when I understood. But then again, I do like a good dungeon crawl, because what I want is a little bit of both.
Right.
I want an adventure, not just we're in the front of the dungeon. We go in, we do our thing. That's boring. But it's also boring where you're traveling, grinding, going to a town, buying stuff, grinding. That's boring too.
Right.
So you gotta have a mix. So what can we do to make his dungeon crawls snappier? First of all, tear them apart.
What do you mean?
Look and see tear them apart section by section. See what makes them tick. See if there's any kind of theme around that section and this section and things like that. And if that'll help you with the dungeon crawl, and if you don't do a dungeon crawl, rip off the stuff. Use it for other games. Temple of Elemental Evil is an excellent example of a dungeon with themed areas.
Yep.
Excellent example. Take a look at that.
But the way I think Full On is absolutely right about this is that like I was saying before, we're like 3 generations removed from the current players that are playing. We're all. Glenn, you're in your 60s. Full On and I think you just turned 50, right? Full On. Or you're close to it. I forget. Oh, I think we lost him.
Hold on. 51.
51, thank you. Yeah, so you and I are in our 50s. Corey is what? Corey's like in his late 40s. Yeah, late 40s. And, we've been playing more or less for 40 years plus, all of us. At least 30. Right. And it's like, when
I date myself back to the beginning of D&D to 1981.
Yep, me too. 1981, exactly.
Same.
Yep, and the whole thing is that back in those days, it was like the DM would present, hey, I've got an adventure. Your guys are going to go on it. You guys go on this adventure, and that's what it is. And, if you guys live through it, fine. If you guys die, okay. Make new characters, we'll, do something else. And it just went that way. But, and I saw this at the end of first edition going into second edition, that the new generation of players behind me, because in the late 80s, I'm now, 23 years old, 24 years old, and the players behind me who are like 12, 13, 14, 15, they have more of a vested interest in their characters because they started putting more of themselves into the characters. It just wasn't a bunch of stats in front of you. All of a sudden you had you started seeing elaborate backgrounds, and if that character died, it was like a family member of theirs died or something, and it just kept going from there. Then you go to the computer age, which was right after that when it started, and then when the MMOs started in like the early to mid 90s, and then all of a sudden it was like, it's like full on said. It's like they got used to level grinding and going to this place, doing that, and all of a sudden dungeons of certain things became raids, and those were big events online. And now you're seeing, and as that's progressing, a step or two behind it was how it would reflect in in tabletop RPGs, and it's been like that. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean, you can have encounter areas, you can have instances, you can have dungeons or flashpoints or whatever brand name they want to stick on it, and that's something that not only did they have to deal with as a element of game progression and advancement for their characters and the story plot of the game that was being presented to them, it was also a feature of you had to share that. There was, there's bugs in the system where the things don't respawn for 6 hours as someone else got through it already and killed the guy, and you have to wait for it to come back. And that entire MMOism or RPG, computer RPGism, is separate from dealing with things on a tabletop. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Full
on, as sidebar, you want to know the first time I ever saw that? Where everybody gathered in a particular place and to kill a certain enemy to get experience and to get magic items? Neverwinter Nights on AOL. That's the first time I ever saw that. That we're talking like 1997. 1990, or excuse me, like 1995, 1996. That's the first time I ever saw that. And it's like,
and if the limit of their socialization is being able to be behaved enough to stand in line and not be a ninja looter or kill stealer, then that was the extent of the social interaction skills that people developed, and that's it. And it's not being a party member working as a party. It's are your numbers good enough for you to do your job, tank? Are your numbers good enough to do your job, healer, DPS? All that stuff. Like, no, that's not what we're doing here. That's not how we play our games. But that's how some of the people that we're getting across the table from us are expecting the game to be played, because that's the only thing they're familiar with.
Exactly. And then when you put them in a tabletop environment with veteran players who've been playing 20, 25, 30 years, and all of a sudden, everything that they've known and everything that they're used to is, shall we say, derided by the veterans, because I've been in that situation too, where it's like, oh, you've only been playing this game a couple years, you don't know anything, or you play the game this way, you don't know anything, and that's a part
good
of
way
it
to
too.
Scare off players.
Yeah, exactly. And then
I diffuse that by getting into lots of different games and playing different games and different game systems with different goals and mechanics. So there's a big difference between getting into a cyberpunk game with Friday Night Firefight as your combat system and getting into a shootout in Stargate SG-1 and getting into a gunfight with your blunderbuster in friggin' WoW D20. It will all strike very differently, even though you're doing the same thing. Character with guns go boom.
Yep, absolutely. Go ahead.
I find it this is sort of a side, something I thought of. In our day, we had people who would come up to play, newbies. You usually have somebody who already knows the game, and they teach it to you, and and it's one of those, either you like it or you get scared away by it. And that's okay, that's the way it goes. But these days, more people are getting into this game and staying. I remember back when I was playing, and during my later years, I would run into so many people say, "Oh yeah, I used to play that when I was a teenager. I haven't played in 20 years." There's so many people who wouldn't stick with it.
Right. Well,
and that's one thing I do like about 5e is people stick with it.
Well, that's because it's the thing now. Well, up until D&D 1 or whatever the hell it's called comes out, and it's like, okay, that's one more generation further removed from where I'm at. and I'm all of a sudden. Go ahead.
It just seems the gamers dropped off easier back then.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot more out there, to be honest. I mean,
yeah.
You had. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't because they got scared off. It was mostly like, oh, I got into college, stopped playing. I got to marry, and I got to, they would let life beat them down, and they'd get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But these days, a lot less of that.
Yeah, and that's a good thing
That's because everybody's attached at the hip to the entertainment in their pocket, and they want a constant stream of, gotcha games and pocket wizards and blow this up and get these prizes and achieve these achievements and do these unlocks. And they do it at their desk on their smoke break, their lunch break, while they're typing on the keyboard with one hand doing spreadsheets. They're scrolling with their thumb on their phone, trying to get the latest loot drops or something. So,
guys, I think we should get back to the emails because we're getting dangerously close to being old farts complaining.
We're old farts, Glenn. Forget it. Just embrace it.
I say complaining.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it is, but at the same time, it still needs to be, called out for what it is. I mean, it may make us sound like old farts, but want to know what? That's the great part about aging. Once you reach a certain age, it's like, screw it. I don't care what you think of me. I feel the way I feel, and that's just how it is. Okay. But go ahead.
Okay, fine. It was more like I can listen to what's wrong with social media and the world and everything sitting here in my house.
True. It's always out there. Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, it's always out there. We don't need to drag it in here.
No, I agree with you. But Full-On makes a good point, though.
Yes, he does. Also, did we answer his question?
Well, let's. I archived it already.
No, we're still getting to that. How do we make Dungeon Crawl fun again? You said tear them apart. I say, find ways to make them value added. I mean, the other thing, like I've said this many times before, and I'm going to come back to it again. One of the big things that people object to about, quote, the Dungeon Crawl is that it is by definition a version of railroading and has a negative connotation. Great, fine, wonderful. But roller coasters are railroads too, and people jump back on the platform in a heartbeat if it's a good one. That is why the classic dungeons are getting remade and remade and remade again for nth edition of the barrier peaks and the friggin' giants and
keep on the Borderlands
and everything else. Keep on the Borderlands. As it's even been remade in other game systems because it's a thing that people need to experience in one form or another so that they get the spirit of how the game can be played.
Right.
So you section it apart, you break it apart, you make it into chewable chunks, you find out the things that you want to put in there to make them desirable to your players. Why do they want to go in there? Make the ecology of it make sense. It's not just a couple of goblins in room 7 sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for the adventurers to show up to kill them and get XP. Make it a breathing environment that does things and has consequences. That way what goes on in the dungeon is as important as what goes on outside the dungeon, and the solution is not just, we're going to build a big fire in front of the door and smoke them out, and we'll just kill them outside.
Yeah.
Or collapse the entrance and walk away. They're going to get mad, they're going to dig their way out, they're going to come out the back door, and they're going to burn the town down. Make it work so that they're guided into progress, not forced down a rail, but still having fun. The goal is to make it fun.
Right. Yep.
That's right.
And that's that. Just to piggyback on what Full-On said, I mean, that's the other thing is that if dungeon crawling is so out of style, why do they keep remaking them? They've remade the classics for each and every they've remade the classics for each and every edition, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Like Full-On said, different fantasy RPG rule sets. because
Hackmaster for the win. Whoa!
Exactly. They did it first. They probably did it best. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that kills me about it. It's like, no, it's not out of style, but at the same time, it's like, even if you have to look at your players and point to the logo on the DM's guide or the player's handbook, it says Dungeons and Dragons. That means you are going to be messing around underground in crypts because that's where the adventure is.
Part-time, anyway.
Yeah, not all the time. No, not all the time, but part-time. Other times you're going to be going overland, going to this place or that place, looking for princess to rescue, dragons to slay, etc., etc. That's the game.
Dragons to rescue, princesses to slay, whichever.
Your princess is
equal opportunity.
Exactly, and that's my whole point. It's like, look, we talked about it, long time ago when Full On so brilliantly put it. It's like this game is a social contract, whether you realize it or not. It's like I am the DM. I provide the world. I provide the adventure. You guys go on it, and let the dice fall where they may. You may succeed. You may fail. Something may happen in between. That's the game. Don't try to make it more than what it is, because you want to know what? I don't want my game to turn into quote unquote a level grind. Experience points are gained, fine, but at the same time, I am not going to be, as either as a DM or a player, going to be trying to make the game to where you've got to do these things or these things or these things, just to succeed. There are various ways to succeed in the game. It's up to me to give you guys the opportunity to do it, and hopefully your dice are happy. The dice gods are pleased with you, that day, to let you succeed. So, that's all I'm saying.
Well, good night, folks. Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
And don't be afraid to be like Goblin Slayer and set up situations where if the dice aren't favorable to you, the dice aren't involved.
What is it, Marcus?
I've seen that.
After I'm done, like I said.
Anyway,
I'll let you know when I'm done.
Let us get on with the show. So if you guys want to email us or talk to us about anything else, THACOshammer@gmail.com or call us.
The number is 405-757-7547.
Okay.
Whew. I almost didn't get that out. That's a lot of 7s and 5s.
Anyway, we're going to head on to Rule 0 now.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
Hey, the rules are there ain't no rules.
Hey! Ladies! That was fun!
Thank you for a very enjoyable day.
Rule 0.
Rule 0. Dealing with rules lawyers.
Okay.
Well, throw them in the bottom of, Lake Tahoe.
Well, yeah, follow William Shakespeare's advice.
Kill all the lawyers.
Hey now.
Kill all the rules lawyers.
I resemble that remark.
Falon, you are not. I've DM'd you. You are not a rules lawyer. You asked for clarification about a lot of things, yes, but you are not a rules lawyer. There is a big difference.
I'm a rules lawyer of the of a different stripe, and I know it. So I know how to conceal my rules lawyeriness and when to apply it like a assassin's dagger and when not.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs to have a rules lawyering bone in their body. That way they don't get objectively boned, but don't make it obnoxious and an impediment to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Use it to succeed in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The game of having fun and occasionally making the DM cry.
No,
100 rules lawyers in the bottom of Lake Tahoe. What's that? A start.
But anyway,
I'd like to play D6 D6 Star Wars, and if you're running it, if somebody gets a little too rules-lawyer, you just turn to him and say, "Initiate Order 66." Rules lawyer version. Anyway, how do you guys deal with rules lawyers?
Okay, go on, Glenn.
I've not had much trouble with rules lawyers, to tell you the truth, and they can become useful. Full on, but anyway, I haven't had much trouble really. I mean, a lot of times I appreciate the clarification. I'm still going to make a ruling, but I like the clarification.
Asking exactly, getting the notions up the front at the table when you start about what is and what is not going to be by the book or outside the book or house ruled or this is the way this table is going to go with these particular eases and concepts is always useful to get out in the open. That usually plugs it right in the nub right there. Mm-hmm. And if necessary, you can just flip open to the appropriate page in the DMG that references they are guidelines. So they are not to be. That is the rule that the rules lawyer can't beat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's in the book in black and white.
Yep.
One of the worst cases of rules lawyering I've seen was in Matt's game with Brad. Oh, Brad, he would be a stickler of the book and just drive Matt crazy. We played Labyrinth Lord many years ago, and we managed to take down a red dragon. It was red or green, I forget which one. But, I probably told you all this about us going invisible and knocking his, AC down, whatever. But he got the coup de grace was a lightning bolt.
Mm-hmm.
And it went through and thing dropped. Cue a 10-minute argument with Brad and Matt, with Brad saying, yeah, but it should have bounced this many times, and which way did it go? I said, Brad, it's dead. Okay, we won. Yeah, but you're supposed to have two more bounces. Are you talking about the
dragon or the lightning bolt?
The lightning bolt. He says, you should look at that sitting with the slide ties.
No.
You should be bouncing two other, and it's like,
it's a stroke that bounces off solid objects being walls. If it doesn't ground out through a creature or a string of creatures, if it hits a wall, it can bounce. If it hits a mountainside, it can bounce. It isn't just going to zigzag in open air. That's chain lightning. If you're using chain lightning, a regular lightning bolt, it doesn't do that. So that's one of the cases of, I know you're attempting to rules lawyer on a thing you may have thought you heard, but that is not what the book actually says. Summary judgment, case dismissed.
Yeah, that's the only time, only a rules lawyer you could win and they'd still be arguing.
Yeah. And
that's
I'm like,
rules lawyering. That's not a rules lawyer, that's a rules whinger.
Yeah.
Whinging about rules.
Yes, I agree 100% because most times rules lawyers try to use the rules to basically to win to win not only the argument against the DM but to benefit at the very least the player or his party. A good rules lawyer goes for his party, does it for his party. A bad rules lawyer does it for himself. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. I just follow my rule, which I've used in acting for decades, that I use for this. I'd rather get it right than be right.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the rules lawyers, it's like they have to be right.
No, exactly.
Why.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They have to be right about whatever they feel's going on. I've been accused of rules lawyering, and I just...
No, not you.
Yeah, me. I've been accused of it. But my whole thing is that I want clarification about something. It's not that I'm looking for, advantages for myself or, even for my adventuring party. It's like, I want to know what's going on with this particular situation. Is this how it's going to be? Or is it going to be, you're going to rule this differently, in another situation. And that's all I ever ask for.
And usually if I ask for rules clarifications or we got rules lawyers in the Monday game, but it's usually settled before the game, before the session starts, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I asked some rules question last time before the game, and one of the guys answered it, and it's like, okay, let's go. Fine, you answered my question.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been anything like that really should be resolved like before or after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting with a big asshole argument, during the game.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But unfortunately, there are just those guys who just want to, try to get every advantage possible. And those are the ones that I, as a DM, I cannot stand. And as a player, on the one hand, I can appreciate it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, we only have like 4 or 5 hours to play this adventure, and we're not going to be playing again for another 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is. Can we please get on with it?
My contention is, playing champion so many years, you scratch a rules lawyer, underneath you'll find a min-maxer.
Agreed. Most of the time, I agree with you. And and they're the ones who are, want a fighter with 18 double-aught strength, but they'll put like a 4 charisma over here or a 4 wisdom over here, and then they won't role play it. It's like, look, no. If you're going to try to min-max, you have to suffer the consequences of min-maxing. Guess what? No, you're not. That's not how it's going to work. But yeah, I mean, and then all of a sudden a situation comes up and they just want to be like, no, that's not what the book says, as the title of our show is. And it's like, look, it's like, and quite honestly, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean. These are guidelines. These are not rules. And I can make a decision about a certain thing, and it's up to me to be consistent about that certain rule in that certain situation. But yeah, if I want to rule it differently because I see it differently than you, it's my game. In the end.
I bought the books.
I bought the books.
Yeah. So realistically, how would you deal with it? Just give him a talk?
Well, let's see. Number one, it depends on how much he's willing to go to the mat about whatever it is. And my whole thing, to die
on that hill, in other words.
To die on that hill, exactly. I mean, I just look at it this way: for the sake of expediency and for the sake of the game, I make a ruling in the moment, and I make sure to make some sort of note about that ruling, and so that if another situation like that comes up, I can basically say, okay, I ruled it this way. I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to rule it this way in another situation. I mean,
then you get the guys who expect you to.
As an avid and rapid and avowed user of house rules, I have always tried to make it a helpful tool to compile a roster listing, booklet, handout, or whatever you want to call it, of particular applicable house rules that are going to be inherent in a given game, and I make that something that I distribute to everybody at the beginning of a game session or the beginning of a game gathering of a group to say, okay, look, here are some of the things that are out here. Look over, review, discuss, and understand that these are the ways some things are going to go forward, so you don't have to ask questions about them later. And at one point, I even had to include copy-pasted verbatim. Here are the definitions of what are actions, free actions, partial actions, standard actions, full round actions, etc., so that that would not turn into a drawn-out discussion because it happened, and I needed to make sure it didn't happen again.
I've had arguments with Matt, we're playing Rules Cyclopedia D&D right now, basic D&D, and he says, I'm going to run it rules as written. and I'm always go back with, there is no such thing.
Well,
you have house. Everybody has house rules.
Yeah.
And he says, well, that's the way Tim Kask would do it. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Tim Kask don't do that. Well, that's his hero. That's his hero.
I know. Just the way you said that, I'm like, oh God. Okay, I see what he's doing.
Yeah, rules is written. You cannot play rules as written. I don't care what they say.
Actually,
everybody will want to tweak it.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but you can play it rules as written, but it makes for it, especially D&D, basic D&D, it's extremely brutal. Characters are going to die every session, and I understand the kind of DM that is, and he's perfectly fine with that. Okay.
He is, yes, I know. And also, as far as like rules is written, the only instance I could see that as rules is written is AD&D First Edition, because part of the reason Gary did it was because he wanted tournament rules.
Yep. Yeah, he did.
He wanted something, so that's the rules is written. Right? You have to run tournaments that way. Or if you have some changes, you post it and make sure everybody knows it. Even then, there's house rules.
Right.
But mostly he wanted tournament rules. That's why it existed but you just, not for a game you're sitting around with your buddies.
You would think, but yeah, some people want to do, I mean, we see it, I see it on the message boards all the time, or on Facebook. It's like, everybody's like, no, I do it rules as written, 3d6 in order. It's like, okay, so I'm going to spend the next hour and a half making a passable character, never mind an exceptional one, because you want to do it this way. You're basically cutting your nose off to spite your face just because you want to be one of those DMs. Fine. I mean, but in the case of house rules, yeah. I mean, when we started Hammers of the Duchy way back when, that was 2013? When we started Hammers of the Duchy, what was one of the first things I gave you guys? My copy of my house rules. I do things a little bit differently. Character generation is different. The way I do MWPs is different. And I have them all codified in a list. I mean, I'm still modifying that list to this day, even though I haven't run a game in 9 years. Because one day I just might run a game. But at the same time, it's like, I have to have my house rules, and this is how it's going to go.
Folks, you haven't lived until you played a 2E game with Brian running it, and he has you do your basic stats. You have not lived until you've used that matrix.
Yep. 3d6, what was it? Do 3d6 what? 36 times?
6 times.
Yep, yeah, 36. No, sorry. 48 times. 48 times because I have 8 stats.
So much for quick character creation.
Why do you think I made session 0? Because I knew it was going to be like that. I know it takes time, but it's cool. And
everybody says, yeah, you're right.
You guys came up with decent characters. I mean, Full-On's was the most challenging out of the lot because I'm like, okay, he's a half-orc swashbuckler, and I'm like, can he actually pull that off? And he barely could. He squeaked in. And I was like, and like I said, it even says so in my house rules. I'm willing to work with you to achieve the character you want. Just don't try to take advantage of me.
Exactly.
And when Full-On rolled his stats out, he's like, okay, he's a half-orc. He gets a plus here. He gets a minus here. He gets this and that. And if I remember correctly, his charisma, which he needed a minimum charisma for being a swashbuckler, was just underneath the minimum he needed for the kit. And I said, you want to know what? You can have it. I like the concept, and, and I'm like, okay, go right ahead. And it turned out that, your character Full-On and your character Glenn were the Mutt and Jeff of the freaking party. It was great. I loved it. You guys were hilarious. You guys were just riffing off each other, and I was cracking up the whole time. I loved it. It was great.
Well, you get a half orc and swashbuckler and a dwarven myrmidon together.
Yep.
A Russian German.
A Russian dwarf and a French half orc. Yeah. I mean, it writes itself. Yes, it really does.
But anyway, there were no rules lawyering in there. Nobody.
No, full on would challenge me. In certain situations, in combat and other things, and then he started calling out
I would ask
NPC
questions
style,
and I would make suggestions, or I would attempt things. And
yes, you did.
Give my rationale why I would think it would work, and wait to be told okay or no, and then how or why would follow.
Of course,
not but if I'm supposed to. I don't do that.
No, you don't do that. And I'm like, okay, you want to try that? Go for it. I mean, in the end, it comes down to, especially there was one situation in combat where you almost got knocked out. You were in really bad danger of getting knocked out. But you're basically playing a swashbuckler who wishes he was a paladin. That kind of paladin dreams.
That accusation.
Because I'm like, he's really trying to get himself killed here, isn't he? But he's doing it because he's trying to support his comrades. I get it.
Well, this all boils down to, folks, if you have a rules lawyer, train them. You don't have to spay and neuter them, but train them.
Yeah, train them to go on.
Although there's some of them, I question that.
Yeah, no, there are some who
players.
Because I've had, going back to it, I remember one game I had where me and my roommate, we decided to bring one of her coworkers into the game, and from the moment he was rolling his character up, he was always trying to use the rules or to try to bend the rules to his character's advantage. And the first one I let go, but when he kept escalating it, trying to say, well, can I do this because he has this and he has that, and if that's the case, then he can get this, and I'm like, no, no, you cannot have that.
At least it happened before the game started.
Yeah. Oh no, then he would try to do it in game too, and it led to my roommate and I just looking at each other one day and saying, okay, we're not inviting him back because he's not making the game fun. Because he wants to bog everything down.
I ran a 2E game a long time ago when I had a roommate, and this one guy comes in, he almost talked to, this is when I was young and stupid, he almost talked me into letting him play his 5th level fighter who was polymorphed into a kangaroo.
Oh, I know.
Until the apartment the apartment
Jack. Okay, or he was just off his binge of watching or reading Tank Girl. Much better as a comic than it is as a movie.
And that was a character from another game too. Uh-huh. And finally, I went out to the porch, and we were second floor apartment. My roommate went out there in a break, and he says, "You're not really going to let him play that, are you?" And I looked at him and I go, "No, I'm not." And I went back and said, "You make a character right."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You go in the corner.
Yep.
Time out for you.
There was another player, because we actually went to our friendly local gaming store and put players wanted for 2nd edition game on the corkboard. This guy calls us up. And we're like, he comes in, and he's a nice enough guy, but he's like, I want to play this character. And, character's a half dragon, and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, and he's got a crap ton of magic items. I mean, way more than a 7th level character should have. And I'm like, okay, you can play this. Then I said, you want to know what? There's a supplement that I just bought that I'm going to use. And I just bought the Council of Worms thing. And I said, okay, you want your half-dragon, this is how it's going to go down. That character's not going to be multi-class, that character's going to be single-classed. And ended up being a mage and having to. And I said, look, you're not going to be walking around openly because people are going to want to kill you because they don't know what you are. You look basically like a humanoid dragon, and people fear dragons, and that's just how it is. You just can't walk around town, and you're going to have to wear a hooded cloak and all this other stuff, and you're going to have to be secretive, and you're going to have to do it this way. And that's the thing. I mean, it was the same thing when everybody wanted to play drow characters. I said, look, everyone's going to want to kill you. You're going to have to hide who and what you are most of the time. And
going back to the point I made earlier about how and what is going on with the current generation of gamers, do you realize what the character race available just got opened up to in World of Warcraft?
What's that?
Dragons are a thing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it took them this long. When you had them playing pandas, because Panda Jack came out, or whatever that is, or Kung Fu Panda came out, and they decided to do a whole world about Pandaria, and I'm like, okay.
My panda is awesome, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
My goblin.
Well, then there's one D&D who adds, what are those, the opposite of tieflings?
Aasimar.
Something.
Oh, Aasimar. No, those have been in existence.
That's not one D&D thing.
They're supposed to be the good.
Yeah, Angel, Aasimar. It's been around since the manual of playing.
Yep.
And I read the description, and it said they usually show up in like an animal form or an animal person form. It's like they finally got furries into D&D.
They've had furries in D&D since freaking Rakasta.
Well,
go back to Top Ballista.
As a player character?
Yes, as a player character, yes. I have them. I've had them in my game for forever. You want to play Rakasta? Sure, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, but now it's official.
Well, yeah, it's official, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
I
can't say anything about furries.
By the way, do you know Dan Proctor's going to put out a second edition of Labyrinth Lord?
Oh, really? Oh, so he's going to tackle that?
Yeah, one of the characters they're adding, one of the races they're adding, are these like half Cyclops.
What?
I forget what they call them.
Huh. Interesting.
They're like 7 foot
another
tall.
Stripe on Giant Ken.
Yep.
Yeah, it's another stripe on Giant Ken.
Yep. But yeah, okay. If it works for him, sure.
Everybody loves Grog from Critical Role and Vox Machina, and it's gotten suddenly popular in open culture again. That's all it is.
Yep.
Anyway, if you guys want to talk to me about this, thacoshammer@gmail.com.
Yeah. Give us your rules lawyer stories, please.
Yes, please. Those are fun. Let's go up to option package.
Which one is it? You must choose. Choose wisely.
Maybe something bad. Maybe something good.
What the hell's going on out here?
That is a choice.
You chose poorly.
Option package, Demi-Humans of the Realms.
Yes.
So?
Okay, TSR 11316.
Oh, it was a book.
Yes, it was an actual splat book. It's a Forgotten Realms based splat book. Yes.
Yep. I never got the Forgotten Realms splat books.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand with the Wizards and Rogues of the Realms and the Fighters and Mages of the Realms.
Yep.
Then I never got the Realms ones.
Yeah, the Realms ones are not bad.
Well, yeah, they're well rounded out, and all good things attached to for the Forgotten Realms generally do flesh out all products in good light.
Good balance usually. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of the kits in here, and it's like I like some of them because they actually deal with some of the secondary races. Like wild elves and Arctic dwarves and jungle dwarves and gnome artificers.
Sub-races.
Yeah, they even have one for Avarials, Winged Elves. Sure. They have some that are more basic, like giant killers. You know, that can be either elves or dwarves. The mountebank, that's like half elves and halflings and stuff like that. You know, like they even have a scout class, which is, or not class, but a kit, which is actually pretty decent. And I like it just because it gives you more flavor for when you're playing in the realms. And yeah, you could use some of these for your own second edition campaign fairly easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, taking like the Grey Dwarf Exile for example. That's basically someone playing a Dorgar who has basically gone who has basically been cast out or has gone onto the surface, from the Underdark, And, I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, you could take these weapons and, the role-playing aspects are the ones that, I like a lot because mostly what this kid is basically a Duergar who's lost most of his powers because he's gone to the surface and he's trying to get them back. And I like that. It's a good something for role play, especially if you're taking on the challenge of like playing a Duergar who's possibly lawful evil. Or not lawful evil, but more of like neutral evil or something like that, if your DM allows it. Let's see, another one. Let's use the Manhunter. I like this one because it's like, hey, now you got, like demi-human bounty hunters, more or less. Elves, half-elves, dwarves, they can be manhunters. And, they get nice little advantages, they got disadvantages, and they're fairly balanced, and...
Here she comes.
Yep. No, that's Man-Eater.
She's a manhunter.
Yeah. Hey, you're funny. They even have the Halfling Marshal, which is a kit that, I would use without hesitation in my Mystara campaign. Especially if it was like, a halfling from the Five Shires.
I had, if you have a halfling from the Five Shires who wants to be a sheriff?
Yeah, sheriff.
Yeah, a marshal, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had one time, a halfling. He had an eye patch, and he was just like Nick Fury.
We're talking comic Nick Fury.
I played this in D&D. I played this.
Oh, I know. I'm saying from the comics, not Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury.
Well, no, back then it was the white one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The comic book.
But I could roll with the Samuel L. Jackson one. That'd be great.
Oh, absolutely.
But he was a halfling. He had a patch, and he didn't take no crap from anybody.
Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah, it was great.
Not now, Marcus. Not now. Okay. When I'm done. Okay.
Fun stuff. Yes, all of it is good.
Yeah,
when did that come out?
This came out. If you could give me a moment, I'll put the contents up. This came out in 1998. So this is like late in the second edition run. This is like only a couple of years removed from third edition coming out. So yeah, this is like Roger Moore designed this, so of course it's going to be good because I'm a big Roger Moore fan. He's done a lot. I mean, of course, Ed Greenwood's involved in this, Stephen Shen.
Oh yeah.
Jim Butler, Dale Donovan, Julia Martin. A lot of people. They even thank the people of America Online who gave them opinions, which is kind of funny. Because remember that was one of the in the mid '90s, from I'd say probably like 1994 forward. It was when a lot of people, a lot of the gaming people started showing up online that way, and of course, that gave players like pretty strong access to the designers, and that's how they would voice their opinions to them.
Right. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't hold back either.
No, they would not.
I'm just glad Gary survived long enough to get on like Dragon's Foot and stuff, and have back and forth with him.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's like everybody was asking him questions when he was still, because I got on Dragon's Foot maybe about a year before he passed. I think if I remember the timing right, and I remember that was the most active threads were the ones where everybody was asking Gary questions about this or that.
Yeah, check it out, people. They still have it there. It's locked, but you can go back and read it. Mm-hmm. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, exactly.
Dragon's Foot forums.
Yep. Yeah, they still have all that stuff from Gary. All that information is still there.
If I ran the place, I wouldn't get rid of it. Man, I'd back it up 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's in its own like subsection. I forgot what they called it, but yeah.
Why that's like my Dungeons and Dragons PDF. I'm never getting rid of those. Those are gold.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this supplement, I like it because it, like I said, it covers a lot of the more esoteric races. Like the Arctic and jungle dwarves and the Lothari. They even have one for the Lothari, which is kind of interesting. And not only do they have it for different races, but they also have the ones that almost any race can be. And and these are the way I wish they had the kits done with the original Splat books back in the early 90s. Like the Fighters book, the Wizards book, the Clerics book especially. The Thieves book wasn't bad, but yeah, I like these.
Well, again, this reflects the end of the era where they had learned all of their lessons from the mistakes previous and cranked them out with a vision and a purpose to, answer the questions and stop the online arguments about, well, this is how I'd build a blade singer. Well, this is what's wrong with the Illuster or the Illmaster or whatever. Okay, but the Illrigger. So we find our way around all these things, and we come up with a sage advice answer of, here's the consensus of what this is. And of course, 2 months later, an author would write a novel that does something entirely different and weird, and people would want to know how to build the kits to make those things happen.
Yeah, and that's where things started going south.
Wielders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because people wanted to wield Spellfire. It's like I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But they made the rules for it. But yeah, it was tough, and it was supposed to be tough, and it was hard, and I still hate the fact that Ed Greenwood killed off Chandra the way he did. I hated that. I just wish she could have married that mage and they could have just gone off somewhere and just lived happily ever after. But that's not what Ed was thinking, I should say.
We'll always have Elminster and the symbol.
Well, yeah. Well, those two are suited for each other.
No. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that Sariel Paladin to violate his vow of chastity, and that's how we get the half Dragonoids.
Oy, that's how you get Dragonborn.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. That's one way. Yes. There are other ways, especially if the dragon can shape change. But yes, there are other ways.
Okay. Anyway, if you guys like this stuff, THACOshammer@gmail.com. Tell me about it. Mm-hmm. And if you got one, we'd like to tell you ask you what you think of it. Do a little review on here. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll read it.
Yeah, just send it in.
Yep.
Anyway, let's get into DM's rag.
Well, that's quite a story.
I think it would be fun to run a newspaper.
And here it comes, right over the old plate.
The DM's rag.
DM's rag. We're on the rag again. For the Curse of the Azure Bonds. I thought it was just called Azure Bonds as a module.
That was that was the name of the book. Jeff Grubb wrote it. Actually, and his wife Kate Novak,
good.
they both wrote it. And
That sounds so good.
yeah, and the this adventure was also written by Jeff Grubb with a lot of assistance. Let's see, Tracy Hickman helped. Kate Novak, of course, helped. Steve Perrin helped. Jim Lauder, that.
And this is what, early '80s, mid '80s,
late '80s. This came out
late '80s.
First year. The funny part is this was the first year of second edition, 1989, when this came out. Which is why.
Now, how many years? How long is it after the video game came out?
Azure Bonds was 88. No, wait a minute. Let me get it right. No, Pool of Radiance was 88. Azure Bonds was 89. So this is all in the same year. Same exact year. Yeah, Azure Bonds was 89.
It's all part of the multimedia marketing.
Yes.
They got the novel, they got the game, they got the adventure module, and they pushed it all out as a shotgun, and they were different enough that they would appeal to different audiences. Mm-hmm. They were also different enough that they would anger the same audience who would consume all three and say, this isn't the same as this.
Yep. Well, they
rules lawyers.
Exactly.
Yeah, rules lawyers. They said they did the same thing with the Avatar trilogy.
Yes, they did. Well, no, they only did that. Books and adventures. That was it. They didn't do a game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The books and adventures came out at the same time. They learned from Dragonlance.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they definitely learned their lesson with Dragonlance. It's true. They even say it's the second paragraph in the introduction in this book. Let me just read that real quick. They say, of course, this is it has a stranger history than most games adventures created for D&D. The book you hold in your hands is based off the novel Azure Bonds, and this is also tied directly to Curse of the Azure Bonds, the computer game by SSI. The result is the first triple-play story in TSR's history, a novel forming the basis for a role-playing adventure and a computer adventure game. So there it is. They acknowledge that / brag about that.
Now, let me ask. So Dragonlance has been out for a while.
Modules since '84. Yeah, since '84.
Okay, now, did they fix the things for the Dragonlance modules? Like, is this a railroad?
In a way, it is, but it's more like a roller coaster, as Full On likes to put it. It's not as railroady, but there is certainly certain multiple goals you have to achieve to basically free your characters from magical enslavement, and that's where the railroad comes in, is that your characters can be controlled if they fail their saving throws, and the saving throws have some pretty strong penalties to them. Basically, your characters have been magically bonded, and you are under control of 5 separate organizations. You have the Fire Knives is 1, the Cultists of Moander is 2, Zenthal is 3. Oh, geez, now I'm missing 2 of them. Tyrant Thraxus is the last one. I can't. And shoot.
This is before Wizards of Thay, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. But the whole thing is that the game is for 4 to 8 characters each, 6th to 9th level to start. Of course, if you ran your adventures through the Pool of Radiance adventure, which is called Ruins of Adventure, it's not necessary, but you could do that.
Okay.
Now, in the actual computer game, your characters wake up in an inn and they're already bonded. Now, it's a little bit not more tricky here in this adventure, but basically your characters get ambushed, and they even have it set up, and it's a pretty nasty ambush. What is it? Let's see. It is. Geez. Oh, here it is. You are basically ambushed by a bunch of invisible thieves with a dozen Drow cleric mages for support. So there's a lot of hold person spells. There's a lot of paralysis poison. There's a surprise attack. There's a chart here basically saying if you're surprised and you get attacked and they're trying basically to knock you out, there's a chart here depending on your level, the chance that you could get knocked out. So it's basic.
Another useful tool variant of the assassination table.
Yes, exactly.
Basically.
It's based off of that pretty much. And so like I said, they're not trying to kill you, but they are certainly trying to knock your characters unconscious. So with the way this ambush is set up, and they even have a diagram of the ambush, which is like, okay. So, like I said, so if your character
smart
gets...
DM will be prepared for the characters to win.
Yep.
And you still have to find a way to make them bend the knee.
Yep. And then your characters will get ambushed again by a stronger version of a stronger force this time. But basically this is going to keep happening until your characters basically get knocked out. That's just how it is. And then once that happens, the adventure starts in earnest. Your characters awaken and they have this blue magical tattoo on their forearms, and you try to detect magic. The magic is so strong that the light will blind you for a certain amount of time, and then it starts where you start trying to get oh, by the way, Glenn, you brought up Red Wizards of Thay. The source book, The Dreams of the Red Wizards, is actually mentioned as a information, a source of information.
Interesting.
So basically, the beginning of it is finding out, what this is that you have and why you have it, and so on and so forth. You're in Tilverton in Cormier, and so you find out what it is, and then go ahead.
So you've been geased, and you don't know why.
Exactly. Until of course, King Azun shows up. And then all of a sudden, you get this overwhelming urge to attack him. You have to make a saving throw versus being compelled into attacking him. But it's not even the king. It's basically someone imitating the king, because Vander de Haast is a clever SOB, and he put Geogi Wyvernspur, who can impersonate the king, basically up there to imitate him. And once you hear his voice, you get the compulsion to attack the king. When you hear it, you have to make a saving throw at -6. And if you fail, you draw your weapons and you try to attack the supposed king of Cormier. And then all hell breaks loose. And it's just really, really weird. And then all of a sudden, guardsmen come to attack your party, and you get an opportunity to escape. And you basically get led into the sewers. Now it's either that or you get captured, one of the two.
Right.
But either way, you get the opportunity to escape your situation. And now all of a sudden, you're in the sewers. One of Corey's favorite adventuring locations.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then you find out that one of the organizations that's behind you being bonded is the Fire Knives, which is a group of assassins in Cormier. And they're trying to basically kill Azun because back in his adventuring days, Azun basically, basically more or less destroyed the Fire Knives, so now they're trying to get vengeance. So you basically go through that. You go through the Thieves Guild. The Fire Knives attack while you're there, and now all of a sudden there's this chaos, and you're going through it, and you find out where the Fire Knives are, and you invade their guild area, and you're basically trying to kill the guildmaster of the fire knives, and once that actually happens, whether you kill them or someone else kills the guildmaster, that's when that first bond disappears, and all of a sudden now you're down to 4, and it goes on from there. Once all that's over and done with, towards the end of the fight, Vander de Hast and the War Wizards show up. The remaining fire knives are either captured or killed, and you end up getting banned from Cormyr for what happened. Because Cormyr is just prickly like that, as we all know. Being in a lawful good society is not a good thing sometimes. It just isn't.
So how well does it play?
I like the fact that it's a lot. There's a lot more to it than the computer game was, like I've said, and it's as you go through the adventure, the challenges get tougher and tougher and tougher. Where you basically at one point you actually have to fight Drow, and in order to get another one of your bonds removed, and because you're basically caught up in a plot by this wizard called Dracandros, who's basically trying to persuade a bunch of dragons to start another flight of dragons, which is a historical event in the realms where dragons could basically go on a rampage and destroy a bunch of things and kill a bunch of people. He's trying to start that up again. So it's tough to play. I will tell you, it's tough. It's tough to go through. But
it is?
Yeah, oh yeah. That's why you start off between level 6 and 9. Because it gets hard, and it gets harder. I mean, when I played the computer game and I had brought over my characters from Pool of Radiance, all my characters were like 8th level already. And even then I still had problems. But it's the same thing. And of course, there's a lot of the dice may fall this way or that way, and you may your party may get killed or something else might happen. But yeah, I mean, you run into Alias and Dragonbait from the Azure Bonds novels. They help you out in a certain part. You have to go to Zental Keep to get the Bond of Bane removed, and you have to get all involved in that, and you're in then you have to go to Myth Dranor, and you're going to like Flan, and they have like layouts of all these towns. Once you get done with the first one, now you're going overland, and it becomes basically an open world. You can go wherever you want to go, wherever the rumors tell you, or you're instructed to go. You could go to like Myth Dranor when you're not ready and get absolutely annihilated. Because you're supposed to wait. That's supposed to be the second to last place you go before you go and challenge Tyrant Thraxus, who is the 5th and last bond on your characters. But if you go to one area before you're quote unquote ready, yeah, you can end up getting TPK'd for real.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's a mega module. I mean, it's 98 pages. This whole thing. 98 pages.
And the difficulty for the DM then is, of course, how to lay out the breadcrumbs, lead the party to them, make them want to eat them, and then discern the proper path. And you have to be flexible. You're going to have to use a lot of redirects and misdirects to turn things into a path so that they think they're making choices, and you honor the choice they thought they made, but still get them to move the plot forward without dying instantly for stupidity, unless they just absolutely desire it and leap into it with both feet.
Yep. It is so easy it is so ridiculously easy to get TPK'd in this game if you go to the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, each of the 5 challenges are, they're laddered in, I hate to say it, but in order of challenge. The first one is not that difficult for like an average 7th level party to deal with. But, once you get out into the world and you go to the wrong place at the wrong time, yeah, you can get way over your head in here. Easy. Really easy. So, I mean, I'm scrolling through it as I'm talking, and I'm just like, yeah, if you go from the fire knives to, say, like, if you go to Zental Keep, that's tough. If you go from, like, because you're supposed to go, I think the order of it is you go fire knives, then the Temple of then the Temple of Moander, which is tough enough. That can lead to a TPK if the party dawdles too long at a certain point. Then you go to Zental Keep. Then you go to Haptooth Hill, which is where the Drow are. Then you go to Mithrador. Then you go after Tyrant Thraxus. That's how it's supposed to go. And yeah, it's up to the DM to say, okay, you're going on information gathering expeditions, and it's better for basically drop enough clues to go to step 2 instead of going from step 1 to step 4, because then all of a sudden it's really, really, really tough. I mean,
all right. What was the MSRP in the day for that?
The MSRP for this game, I think it was $15. No,
not bad.
$9.95. This price was $10 for this. $10. That's a bargain.
Look on eBay, folks. Oh. And I don't believe Drive-Thru has a POD on that.
I think they do. Let me look that up really quick. But
that'd be better than going on eBay.
Yeah, that's a lot better than going on eBay, because they'll charge you maybe like what?
$50?
No, not even. They'll charge you maybe like $5. Let's see. Curse the Azure Bonds. Come on. Let's see what we got. Oh, it's basically the same price, $9.99 for a PDF. And the quality is very high, I might add.
What do they have a POD?
Let's see. Let's see. Add to cart. Let me see if they've got that. Because no, I don't think they have print on demand for it. That's unfortunate.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Still, get the PDF. You love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. With fully operational, or not operational, but fully with full, like, the maps, because the PDF of Azure Bonds, and by the way, I have an actual copy of Azure Bonds.
Well, look at you.
Yeah, I bought that a long. I think I got that off eBay, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so it's not inexpensive. If you print on demand for something like this is, I'd say probably like $30 or something. So,
and folks, you can tell this is one of his favorite modules.
I think Azure Bonds was my entry point into Forgotten Realms novels, and I had to go backward to pick up like Black Wizards and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, really?
Yeah, Azure Bonds was actually one of the first ones. I mean, aside from the Avatar trilogy and the Isles ones,
But Alias is hot,
Well, yeah.
Everybody has that phase where they go into.
She's all 17s right down the board. She's all 17s. I found that interesting. But yeah, and actually I have a recent artist rendition of Alias, which is a lot better than the actual cover of the Azure Bonds book and the adventure module. So yeah, it's actually a really good picture. I like it.
Well, folks, if you want to talk about this or anything else, oldmangrognard@gmail.com, or you can go to thacoshammer@gmail.com, or you can go to my phone. Since I put Old Man Grognard, you can use my phone number. No, I'm not going to give my own number out. You can give our number out.
The number is area code 405-757-7547.
Same area code, anyway.
Yep, same area code.
We got to close this splat book.
Yes, we do. Yeah, my son's on me to go play soccer with him in the hallway.
Well, then if you're in a hurry, say goodbye.
Until next time, folks. If you wake up in an inn and you've got these writhing blue magical bonds on you, you got problems.
Mm-hmm. Full on, you want to say goodbye?
I'll let the Gamer Nation know that if they ever want to get into making different types of multiracial creatures, all you got to do is drop in by Demiurge and the Happy Farm. More on that when you get into those episodes.
I'm DM Glenn. Oh my God. And I'm DM Glenn saying we'll see you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. Bye-bye.
THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find more of his music on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at thacoshammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at thacoshammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. You can also find us on the second edition forums at osrgaming.org and at purpleworm.org. Or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.
Between the Debbie Humans and Azure Bonds, that's a lot of stuff.
Yep. But it's good stuff.
Yes, it is good stuff. Anyway, we're out.
Yes, we are.